Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life YouTube channel and my 1982 horror movie reviews as part of my overall 1980s horror movie series. Um, so the movie we're going to take a look at today is one that I have as part of my Scream Factory Blu-ray collection. It's a movie that's actually, I believe, a remake of a movie from about 40 years earlier, and that movie is Cat People from 1982. Um, I actually do have the double pack on DVD of the original Cat People from, I believe, 1941 or 42, and then Return of the Cat People. I'm not sure when that one came out, but I haven't seen either of them yet, but I do have them in my collection to watch. But from my understanding, this is a pretty different remake. It has its own vision, while still having uh, some of the basis, I guess, of the original. But anyway, let's talk about Cat People from 1982 with Nastasia Kinski and Malcolm McDowell as the two stars of this movie. So let's go ahead and get into it. So, Cat People is a 1982 American supernatural horror film directed by Paul Schrader. Its plot follows a young woman who, upon reuniting with her brother, learns she was descended from werecats. It's a remake of the 1942 film of the same name and was produced by RKO Radio Pictures, the same studio that produced the original film. Um, Giorgio Moroder composed the film's score, the second Schrader film to be scored by Moroder after American Gigolo, including the theme song, which features lyrics and vocals by David Bowie. Jerry Bruckheimer served as an executive producer. So, in an undisclosed primitive human settlement, a sacrificial maiden is tied up to a tree. A black panther approaches and rests its paw on her. Another girl with feline features approaches a similar big cat in the cave without incurring its attack. In the present, Irene Gallier travels to New Orleans from Canada to reconnect with her brother Paul. Irina was raised in foster care after they were orphaned. Paul, who has spent his childhood in psych wards, is now involved in a church and lives with his Creole housekeeper, female Fremali. That night, a prostitute named Ruthie walks into a Fleabag motel to meet a John, but instead finds a black panther that mauls her foot. The police and zoologists Oliver, Alice, and Joe capture the panther. Meanwhile, Irina wakes to find Paul missing. The female deduces he went on a mission. I don't know why they call the housekeeper female. But basically, the housekeeper, Femali. Oh, I get it. It's female in the spelling, but it's actually pronounced Femali. Okay, Femali deduces he went to the mission and urges Irina to enjoy New Orleans on her own. Irina visits the zoo, is drawn to a newly captured panther, and stays after closing hours. She is discovered by Oliver, the zoo's curator, who takes her to dinner and offers her a job at the zoo's gift shop. Irina reveals she is a virgin in a conversation with Alice, who shares a romantic history and is still in love with Oliver and sees her as a rival. One day, the panther tears Joe's arm off during a routine cage cleaning. Joe bleeds to death, and Oliver resolves to euthanize the cat, only to find it missing. In its cage lies a puddle of melted flesh like the one found by the prostitute. Yeah, so that's the setup and the premise. As far as the cast goes for this movie, we have Nastasia Kinski as Irene Gallier, Malcolm McDowell as Paul Gallier, John Hurd as Oliver Yates, Annette O'Toole as Alice Piran, Ruby Dee as Femali, Ed Begley Jr. as Joe Cree. So that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 1982 Cat People movie, or remake, I guess, from 1942. I really enjoyed this movie. I never seen it before, obviously, as the case with most of these movies, but I wouldn't describe it so much as a supernatural horror film. I would describe it as a supernatural erotic thriller. I think that's a better description for this movie, because kind of like the movie I reviewed last year, or not last year, for 1981 earlier this year, Possession, with Sam Neill and Isabella Gianni. It's a different kind of horror movie. It's not visceral. It's not in your face necessarily. It's much more metaphorical to a certain extent. And this is more of an erotic thriller in the same way that Dress to Kill from the previous year, 1980, that I reviewed last year is. So it's kind of one of those horror movies. It's not going to be for everybody. It's a little bit more metaphorical, a little bit more. I don't know what the word is for it, but if you've seen the movie, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But I liked it, and there's a lot of reasons that I like it that we're going to get into right now. Um, the first thing I have to say is the film looks fantastic. Having a great New Orleans setting, which I think New Orleans is a very interesting setting for a horror movie, especially from the early 80s. I really enjoyed it, and From Beyond, that I reviewed earlier this year as part of 1981 as well. I don't quite like the New Orleans setting as much in this movie, but still, it's very interesting. And like I said, it's a great city in the South for a horror movie. It has especially that early 80s setting of beautiful New Orleans. And also, this movie has a color palette that used with sort of the fantasy sequences and scenes and just the images of the cats and the panthers in this world. Now, I did learn through the special features of watching some of the interviews that these weren't actual panthers. They were cougars that were spray painted black to look like panthers because, as Annette O'Toole said in her interview here, as you can see, they got interviews in the special features with just about all the big hitters here in this movie. Um, the Panthers, you can't really gather them up for a movie like this. They're not going to sit still for it. They're a little too aggressive with the actors and stuff. And even Cougars, they had to be careful with, but they were at least more manageable, I guess. But yeah, you can see in the special features there, you got interviews with Malcolm McDowell, Nastasia Kinski, and Ned O'Toole, John Hurd. Who's the other ones? The director, Paul Schrader, composer Georgie Marauder, and also the gal, it's not listed here, but the gal that's the prostitute also. I think it's Lynn Lowry. But anyway, just wanted to point that out. But yeah, the movie just looks fantastic. I mean, it's an easy watch, easy on the eyes. If you don't really like the story and you just want to put something on that's beautiful, then this is a good movie to do that because it's absolutely gorgeous from the color palette to the setting to the way it was shot, just kind of everything about it. So that's the first thing I really liked about the movie. The movie is very well shot in terms of the unique and excellent camera angles that really make the animal POV shot stand out effectively. There's different scenes throughout the movie, even when Nastasia Kinski's character of Irene is not really sure who she is yet, but she's kind of moving like a cat when she's running away from John Hurd's character, the zoo curator of Oliver, and jumping and climbing a tree, and just those images, just that POV shot. And there's other ones throughout the movie too. Later on at night when she wakes up in the middle of the night and goes out into the woods and kind of's got like this sort of vision of all the animals that she sees, very like cat-like vision, literally. Very well done. Again, it adds to the beautifulness of this movie. It's just very well done from a technical standpoint, and I really enjoyed that. You got to talk about the cast and the performances, which are all terrific. You obviously have some pretty big hitters here as far as the cast in general goes, with Malcolm McDowell and John Hurd, who I think is an underrated actor. Rest in peace to John Hurd. Annette O'Toole, Ed Begley Jr., who's not in the movie a whole lot, about maybe the first third of the movie, the first act. And then, of course, you have Nastasia Kinski, which is hard for me to say, as Irina Gallier, who I haven't really seen her in anything else. I know she did other movies, but she's phenomenal in this movie. She's really the thing that holds this movie together. And I also have to say that I was 3 years old in 1982, so I wasn't really watching movies like this or having crushes. But if I were about 20 years old or even 15 years older in 1982 than I was, I'd be crushing on Nastasia Kinski big time. Talk about a gorgeous woman. But her acting is also phenomenal in this movie. She really does carry the movie. She hits all the right emotions at the right times in this movie. Going from being very shy and a virgin when we first meet her all the way to the end when she knows what she is, and she's much more confident. She's much more deliberate in her actions and her emotions, and yeah, just kind of everything about it. But really, the whole cast is fantastic here, and that really adds to this movie. But her character, as well as Malcolm McDowell, is so mesmerizing and engaging throughout this movie that even if there's certain points in this movie that you're kind of bored by things or it isn't moving fast enough, I was never bored because I was engaged by those two actors specifically, Nastasia Kinski, but even Malcolm McDowell. They really give it their all in this movie. It's a very well directed movie by Paul Schrader, who brings his own unique vision to this story, and I think executes it really well, frankly. Yeah, it's clear that he has his own vision, taking the crux of that initial Cat People movie from 1942 and making it his own. And I think that's the toughest thing to do with a remake or a reimagining for any director. And he really knocks it out of the park, in my opinion. The score and the music within the film are incredibly effective. You have, as I mentioned earlier, G- uh, Giorgio Moroder, who composed the film's score, just phenomenal. I'm not sure what other movies he's done other than American Gigolo, because it says it's the second movie he worked with Schrader on. And then you got the David Bowie song with the lyrics and the vocals at the end of this movie, the ending credits, which is also very effective and very fitting for this kind of movie. So, yeah, I was a big fan of the music in this movie. And then I have to talk about the effects. I mean, there's a couple of transformation sequences. Now, when I say transformation, I'm not talking about like an American Werewolf in London. It's not quite to that extent, but you do see both Malcolm McDowell and Nastasia Kinski's characters, and you can see here, and she's got the cat eyes going, and Malcolm McDowell's character does too earlier in the movie. But you actually start to see like the cat come through the fingers and the knuckles and everything. They're very well done. There's also another scene where they're cutting open a cat that they end up shooting or killing at one point later in the movie, which I'm not going to give spoilers away, but it's an important character in the movie. And as he cuts them open, you see a human arm in there. That was kind of cool. But yeah, just the cat eyes and especially her transformation when she physically turns into the cat is really well done. So I thought the effects were really well done. The little bit of blood and gore that they do have in the movie also was very well done. A character gets his arm ripped off earlier in the movie. Those gore effects look pretty good. So yeah, really a lot that I like about this movie. As I said, it is more of an erotic thriller as opposed to like a visceral horror movie. But I think it's pulled off really well. As far as cons go, there are more warnings. I don't really have any cons personally with this movie, but it's not really scary in a typical horror movie kind of way. And some people out there, especially your horror diehards, might find it a bit slow, a bit of a slow burn. It is just about a 2-hour movie as well. Although I never felt like they wasted any space. I felt like the time was well filled. I didn't feel like there was any unnecessary filler or anything. I just think it's a very interesting story, and the premise and the story it unfolded very well, and I was very engaged throughout it. As I mentioned, a lot of it because of the performances, the writing is very good, the directing is very good, and just the beauty of the movie, how good it looks. So, yeah, I mean, what can I say, guys? Overall, I really enjoy Cat People. I'm glad to have the Scream Factory Blu-ray in my collection here. Show you the inside there. But she's the star, for sure. And I'm definitely interested in seeing some other movies with her. She was only 20 years old, too, when she made this movie, which is even more amazing. And, of course, Malcolm McDowell, we know how great he is of an actor. And like I said, John Hurt and Annette O'Toole also really, and Ed Begley Jr. for the limited time he's in the movie, they kind of give the movie a little bit of gravitas as well. Another thing I should mention is, and even the director came out and said that there's a lot more, there's more skin than there is blood in this movie, which should tell you everything you need to know, and why it's more of an erotic thriller than it is like a gory, killer horror movie. There are some kills in the movie, but they're done in more of a mythical, sexual kind of way than Other than the one character that gets his arm ripped off by the cage. Like I said, that's fairly gory. There's another scene with a prostitute, or not a prostitute, but another woman that Malcolm McDowell's character spends the night with. And that's a fairly gory scene after he transforms and he wakes up the next day. So it's not like this movie doesn't have any blood or gore, and it certainly does, but it has a lot more erotic sex, nudity, and I think just about every female in this movie is nude at one point or another, at least topless. And Nastasia Kinski, she's nude, bottomless and topless, and back and front, and all kind of ways in a couple different scenes. But just to show that the movie makers weren't completely sexist, Malcolm McDowell also is nude in this movie, and I saw a little bit more of him than I wanted to. John Hurt he doesn't show a lot, but he does get nude. I think you see his backside at one point or from the side. I don't remember, but just know that there's a lot of like I said, it's still not a porno. It's still an erotic thriller. It's a good movie, but like the director said, a lot more skin than blood. But I enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 for Cat People from 1982. Go ahead and comment down below. Like I've seen in other reviews, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. The story doesn't quite hit for everybody. They have their reasons why they don't like it, but 8.5 out of 10 for me. So comment down below what you think. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It would really help me out for the future of my channel and the content that I have on my channel going forward. With all that being said, I hope everybody's having a good holiday season so far. But, as always, stay scared. Bye.